Let me say that again. The PhD is a Prussian invention. All training techniques were built around the premise that isolation from first-hand information and fragmentation of the abstract information presented by teachers would result in obedient and subordinate graduates properly respectful of arbitrary orders. They couldn't articulate. They did not have any discriminative critical thinking abilities. So authority would then mold the mind to give them orders that would, follow off. Have you ever gone into the schools today and looked at how the school curriculum is based? No, you haven't. Do you know what your child is learning with your teacher? No, you don't. These graduates would be unable to interfere with policymakers because while they could still complain, they could not manage sustained or comprehensive thought. Well-schooled children cannot think critically and therefore cannot argue effectively. Now, this is very important because when our children cannot see the second and third tier of an argument and be able to broaden the perspective around what they see and have no words to be able to speak along those lines, we got problems. Here's how you know your children are being well-schooled. Symptoms of a well-schooled child. School trains children to be employers and consumers. Your child wants every damn game, every damn Cocoa Puffs, They're showing movies to your children during the lunch times. Do you know that? Without your permission. And they are chastising children who don't want to look at the movies and sending them to their principal's office because they won't look at the movies. All right, let me repeat that. When you give your child to your enemy, what comes back? It's like Alien. Like Prego, it's in there. The well-schooled child trains children to obey outside authority reflexively. So when the child goes in and the first authority is a white or Jewish teacher, they know that the secondary authority who is now teaching that you have greater power than your parents, because that's what the school is doing now. You don't have to tell your parents that you're going to the doctor, or you have to do this, or you're getting pregnancy tests, or you're getting condoms. Because remember, the state is the child's father. Well-schooled children have low thresholds for boredom. That's because their minds are being constantly agitated. They're on the video game time frame reference. It's constantly moving. It's constantly keeping their reflexes up. So when they go into a school system where it has to sit down and get into quiet contemplation and reflective thinking, they can't do it because they're on video mode. Children can't think when you got them on the video game screen because they're thinking like this. Well-schooled children are conditioned to dread being alone, seeking constant companionship through the TV, the computer, the cell phone, Palm Pilots, video games, or through shallow relationships quickly acquired and quickly abandoned. And you know, this is why people don't understand why it is that you tell a child sit still. If the first thing I remember learning in the West Indian school system was to sit still. If you don't learn to sit still, you can't learn anything. Now, I see we have some young people in here today, and I hope you're listening, because you're not being taught anything in school. You are being trained and programmed to get a job. And I'm going to show you why it's so insidious, because we're getting ready to really pull the rug off of it. And when Sister Myra begins to drop what's going on here today, hold on to your sons. Hold on to your sons. What are the rules for manipulating public opinion? And for all you agents who are in here, we know that you know this already. The mob has a psychology focused on emotions, not facts. Choose words carefully for their emotional impact. The mob is incapable of rational thought. Thus, motivation must be based on the way you present the issue, not the logic. If people, or the mob, are incapable of rational thought, true freedom or democracy is dangerous to the state. Again, important decisions should be left to experts. Defer technical issues to someone educated, sanctioned, or accredited by a state institution. When reframing issues under public scrutiny, stay away from substance. Instead, create images. Never openly state or demonstrate a lie. Instead, explain around it. Now, you have not yet, what we haven't gotten to yet is what is known as the Delphi Protocol. Whoa. Whoa, you talk about mind F. A little dig at the Christians. The unilateral suspension or demonization of critical thought and thus critical analysis is the hallmark of a successful religion. The suspension and demonization of critical thought and critical analysis is the hallmark of a successful religion. And what is politics except a form of religion? The Prussian system of reading was originally a system that taught whole sentences, and thus whole integrated concepts were memorized rather than a study of the whole words that comprise the sentences and concepts. Listen carefully. In the three-tiered system, they figured out a way to achieve the desired result. And this is what is taught to our children today under the teaching principle of outcome-based educational solutions. In the lowest category of the system, the 95% or the Volksschulen, the method was to divide whole ideas while simultaneously integrated whole disciplines like math, science, language, and art into subjects which did not or marginally existed at that time. These so-called subjects were further divided into units requiring periods of time during the day. With appropriate variation, no one would really know what was happening in the world. It was inherently one of the most diabolically brilliant methods of knowledge suppression that ever existed. Children could not meditate at leisure upon thoughts or subjects because they would be incessantly interrupted by loud bells every half hour to 45 minutes. The Prussians also replaced their alphabet system with the teaching of sounds. Ah, you got it. It meant children could read without understanding what they were reading. In 1814, the first American, Edward Everett, went to Prussia and received the first PhD. The PhD, the MA, the baccalaureate classifications are all of German origin. Everett eventually became governor of Massachusetts. And during the next 30 or so years, a whole slew of American dignitaries went to Germany to earn what became known as degrees. Where do you hear about degrees? Masonry. Again, the system of qualification by degrees is a German invention. Horace Mann, instrumental in developing the American education system, was among the dignitaries. Those who earned degrees in Germany came back to the United States and staffed all of the major universities. Let me say that again. Those who went over to earn degrees in Germany, in the first wave of Americans who went over to learn the Prussian system, came back and staffed all of the major universities in 1850.